I'll start.
Yes, ma'am. Admitted.
Okay. Yeah. Good morning, friends. Welcome back to this fifth day of the IBC preparatory course. We have had very good sessions till now, on up to CIRP, up to the regulations. So the code is fully completed. In case you have had the time to go through the code and the regulations and the material based on the material which has been shared to you by the faculty, and you have any doubts, you're welcome to clarify the doubts with the speaker today also, or with any of us, you can raise the doubts. The speaker today is also very, very well experienced in the IBC process and also in all the other allied legal processes within the ecosystem of insolvency. And in case you have any requirement for any other coverage, please do let us know. We will try to cover it for you. Without much ado, I will now introduce the speaker today, Advocate Chartered Accountant, or I should say Chartered Accountant Advocate Ramana Kumar. But today we have asked him to come as an advocate. He's a very good friend who always obliges whenever we ask him for any presentations, anything. He'll always pitch in and share his knowledge very, very generously. He was initially a chartered accountant. Now he is a lawyer enrolled in the Madras High Court and is a registered insolvency professional. He is the founder of Overpax Legal, a corporate law firm. His experience spans around 3 decades, and he was earlier practicing as a chartered accountant with experience in both domestic and international taxation. And he provides even now tax and regulatory advisory services in relation to inbound and outbound issues and other international tax matters. He is a wholesome business advisor with knowledge on accounting, tax, and law, including the new gen laws such as the IBC, the Benami, and the anti-money laundering laws. And his stint in Big Four has exposed him to various kinds of business advisory, including cross-border insolvency, advisory, tax, organization engagements, consolidation businesses, including business and MA and strategic advisory. And apart from that, he also defends his clients, and he regularly appears for clients before the commissioner level and above in income tax matters, CESTAT, and indirect matters up to the Supreme Court. And apart from tax matters, he also appears before SEBI, NCLT, and NCLAT. He's apart from as an insolvency professional, apart from offering consultancy and acting as a resolution professional, he is a sought after faculty in the subject and has assisted many professionals to clear the limited insolvency examination. He's also involved in stress asset management in the SMSE sector and has successfully resolved cases and revived companies by bringing both the creditors and the bank to the table with a view to revive the business. He is an independent director in one of the largest railway PSUs in the country, that is the Dedicated Freight Corridor Corporation Limited, since 2019, and is presently the chairman of the audit committee and a member of the nomination and remuneration committee, and also the CR committee of the corporation. Apart from this, he is also co-authored a book on transfer pricing with the legendary Sri S. Rajaratnam, titled Rajaratnam's Transfer Pricing in International and Domestic Transactions, published by the Company Law Institute of India. He had earlier co-authored books, namely on corporate audit checklist documents and deeds and issues on tax audit, which were well received by students and professionals alike. And he's also presented a number of papers in many professional and business seminars, and is a regular contributor of technical articles in various periodicals and dailies. And he's also a sought-after speaker on pre- and post-budget issues and has addressed universities and IIM apart from the professional circles. And also I know for certain he is also sought after by the television channels. And he's taken a number of sessions to the officers of RBI, CNAG, income tax, and other government departments, apart from taking classes for MBA students as a visiting faculty. He was also, on a personal side, an active lion and has won many district governors' appreciation awards and innovation awards for the Lions Club from the Lions Club International. And he's most interestingly an avid photographer and has won many national and international prizes from over 40 countries and regularly holds exhibitions of the photographs and that he takes. And if any of you are interested, he also takes classes on photography, travel, and other related subjects. So over to you, Ramana. This is such a fantastic profile to read. You make me feel like I have not done anything in life. I need to run to catch up with you. So it's really nice. And thanks a lot for actually accepting our invitation and coming and sharing your knowledge with us. Over to you.
Thanks a lot, madam, for this nice introduction. I didn't expect you to read the profile in full because people used to take which is more relevant for the particular meeting and read. I'm really grateful to you. Now you are muted.
No, in case anyone wants to take a photography class, they'll do it.
always, it's my pleasure. And for me to address the SARC of ICAI is always like homecoming. It is my own place, you know. It is my mother place, I should say, wherein I have been there as a student, I've been there as a faculty, I've been there as an examiner, examining all. It has come a complete round. And in fact, if it was in Brahmaya Hall, always I used to say that, you know, I feel so proud standing in the hall. So now we are in the virtual Brahmaya Hall. So I think it is my pleasure, it is my proud pleasure and honor to address the chartered accountants and the SARC. It has always been my honor, and it will always be my honor. First of all, I welcome the students, the fresh batch of students for the IBC exams. And during this pandemic and during such turmoil times also, I think the students who have come in are all completely charged up, and I'm sure that all I know there are about 20 participants right now. More will join in, and today being auspicious Friday, so I think many of them will join in a bit late. So be it as may be, it is a pleasure to do it. And in fact, I was one of the earliest faculties of IBC, and I know of the day when the first IBC meeting all over India was actually held in the Brahmaya Hall on, I think, on sometime in November middle of 2016. Wherein the hall was completely jam-packed, and you know, and we introduced the IBC to the chartered accountants, and now it is a great hit. And I have been a practitioner of IBC. I have been an advocate in the IBC space, and I have seen that IBC has grown far and wide. And one thing I should say without any hesitation is that chartered accountants who are insolvency professionals make a better job, make a very good job, and make a resolution-oriented work which they do because of the knowledge of accounting law and the subject well, because they are able to understand the business better than others. I'm not trying to undermine the other professionals; they are also doing a great job. But the understanding which a chartered accountant gets always is, I think, one step higher than the other professionals. And I welcome each one of the participants to become an IP. I'm sure you will become, and we will take it forward. Today, my scope would be to take other laws. So before that, I would like to show what are the other laws which are applicable. I think in the syllabus, if you see, you're able to see my presentation, right? I just on my chat box so that
Word document you can see now.
Yeah. Sorry.
You can see the Word document. So the part.
Yeah. First Word document. So what happens is this partnership and the LLP is clubbed along with the Companies Act. So I have removed it. I have kept it separately, and we will be dealing with Contract Act, Negotiable Instrument Act, Transfer of Property Act, Prevention of Corruption and Money Laundering to a reasonable extent. And we will also be dealing with a few other acts such as Partnership LLP, Contract, Negotiable Instrument Act, and Sale of Goods Act. I don't know whether these two are there. I think they are also available. Negotiable Instrument Act also is there. So we will be taking 8 acts, which is important as of now. And I will also be explaining all these acts are only from the examination point of view. I'm not trying to take a class on these respective acts. I'm not trying to make you educated on those respective acts. Let me be clear. I am only trying to address these acts as per the what we call the requirements of the examination is what I am trying to do. So so with this we will proceed, and the modus operandi of the classes will be like this. I have 7 or 8 different PowerPoint presentations which I will share with you after the class is over, or I will share it with the institute or with Revati madam, who can of course transmit those PowerPoints in a PDF form to you. And whether these PowerPoints are enough, if you know the contents in the PowerPoints, it's more than enough. You don't have to know anything else extra in these 8 acts. So as far as the examination is concerned, these acts will give you 11 marks. 11 marks will give you, of course, as we do smartly in the chartered accountancy course also, we need to do a bit more smart. There are a few acts which I have consciously not taken into account. 1 second. I will again share the screen. I am not in the current class. I am not going to deal with Code of Civil Procedures, because Code of Civil Procedures is a slightly heavy act, not suitable for all of the chartered accountants for the examination purpose. And in case you want to have a look at them, you have only limited sections which you can take. And all of you must already have the questions with you. The questions with respect to civil procedure are the only questions which are available, which are being taken always. And the other act which I am skipping consciously is the Arbitration and Reconciliation Act, because a few and far in between questions are coming in such acts, because of which I would like the students to study so smartly in order to have it, crack the exam. So of course, the Arbitration Act, we can have a look at it from the questions which we have, and we have a very good set of questions. And the other acts are new acts for which I don't, other acts are new acts, and I'll be dealing with the security exchange, the regulation which is pertaining to the IPs, which is more important. So there will be a selective dealing of the acts. And for every 15 minutes or every 20 minutes, I will leave the floor open for questions. I would request you to ask the questions only with the angle of the examination, because that is the limited purpose for which we are all assembled here. And I will try to answer that as much as possible. In case I'm not able to, I will give a reply as an email material or as a Word document to the institute, which can be shared with all of us. And you can be liberal in putting your queries in the chat box, which will enable me to address the queries as and when it comes. So I think the chat box is the chat box is on, no, Selva?
Yes,
the chat box is on. Okay.
It's not
yes. So we can do. So with regarding to the first act, I have got the following acts are the acts which I'm going to take, which I have already shown you, is the Benami Act, Indian Partnership Act, LLP, Contract, the PMLA, Negotiable Instruments, Sale of Goods and Transfer of Property Act, which we are going to do. So first we can start with, I think we can start with Partnership Act, which is a easy act. All of us are aware of it. All of us know the act, and we will start with partnership. The slide is visible. Yes.
Yes, sir.
Yes. So see, Partnership Act is a very simple act, and all of us are aware of it inside out, and many of us are partners also. So we know the applicability of the act as a practitioner also, and we have been using the act. So straight away we will go into the questions part of it, which will come. To one important question is any act or omission by all the partners or any of the partners is one important question which we get. The act of the firm is always defined, means an act or omission by all partners or by any partner or by an agent of the firm. Invariably, what happens is, as I say in all my classes, see, it is not that the insolvency exam is very difficult to crack. There is some logic and some acquired intelligence which we have. So what happens is, when we see the question in front of the screen, there is one acquired intelligence which will come in front and say that no, that is wrong, this is wrong. We all know the agents, the role of agents we know, but the act of the firm is also the act of the agent of the firm is one thing which our acquired intelligence will come and prevent us from addressing. So these are the issues which we will be mainly dealing with, and act of the firm includes the act of the agent who has come into the picture. And third party, anybody who is not a partner of the firm. So an agent of the firm is not a partner of the firm. Is the agent a third party? And how can you make a third party accountable for the act of a firm is one issue which we have to consider. But in this case, what happens? Once a person becomes an agent of the firm, either by authority or by his conduct, even his conduct will make him an agent of the firm. The actions of such people with the outsiders will be accounted as an act of the firm. This is one thing which I want to tell. Integral in partnership is one question. What is not integral in partnership? They will ask a question like that. Profit sharing is integral to partnership. Profit sharing is integral to partnership is an important thing which we need to appreciate and we need to remember. One second. The other point which I want to impress here is it a contract or by status? Again, it's an examination question. It might sound very simple for us, but the concept is what is more important for us to understand. And we will have, and at the end of the class, I will also try to impress how to write the exam and how to omit certain questions. Like a cricketer, if it comes outside the off stump, he will raise the bat and he will let the ball pass. He will not hit every ball. So like that, which are the questions to omit, which are the questions to compulsorily answer, and which are the questions to, wait for some time and then answer. All these issues we will be dealing in the end. In case time is not there, I would request someone to ask. Okay, if Benami Act is not there in the new syllabus, we will ignore it. No problem. I have seen one message. Yeah. So the number of partners, as per the Indian Companies Act, a partnership firm can have a maximum 100 partners, but the number of partners is not mentioned in the Partnership Act. So what happens now? So the current maximum limit is 100 in case of non-banking companies. Once a while, such questions will come for numbers. Please remember that. And for an LLP, there is no maximum limit prescribed. Is one important thing which we need to remember. The existence of partnership and the mutual agency between the partners and not merely share profit. Even though sharing profit is an integral part of partnership, it is the mutual agency which is more important. And see, so there will be a question, which will have both mutual agency and the profit sharing. It only says not merely profit sharing, but also profit sharing. Mutual agency is also there. So the existence of partnership question would be mutual agency and sharing of profit would be the right answer. Partnership of will, we know. I'm not going to take everything because in 3 hours we need to complete a lot of portions. So I will be running. Wherever you want me to stop, you can just ask me to explain it more or see whether it is important for us to understand that or not. Duties of partnership is extremely important. You need to understand the duties of partnership. Common advantage, 8th, indemnity, fraud and willful neglect. Fraud and willful neglect is the only area in which you can expel a partner. So we need to remember a few sections and correlate them also, which is more important. Ought to claim remuneration is a duty of the partner. It has to come from the partnership team. So we need to understand that ought to claim remuneration is one of the duties of the partners. So when I send you this presentation, you can actually take printouts of them and mark or actually highlight so that you will be able to appreciate the whole thing better. Act within authority, liability, joint and several, all of us know. Ought to assign rights. As a firm, you can assign some rights to the agent, but as individual partners, you cannot assign the individual partners' rights to agents. Please understand that, and that's an important question which will come by. Duties of the partner, indemnity, rights and duties of the partnership is bound by the agreement. Partnership of the partners of the firm are always bound by the agreement. The agreement becomes the what you call the Bible or the sacred document which will govern the whole rights and duties of the partners, including remuneration. And with the consent of all the partners, the agreement is variable. You can change the agreement with the consent of all the partners. Now we come to the rights. Rights are rights to take part in the business, right to be consulted. Access to accounts is one of the rights. Rights to share profit, interest on capital, interest on advance, indemnify. In the IBC exam, you will not get certain questions on minor partners. You will not get question on sleeping partners, etc., etc. You will get a straightforward questions in partnership, and either you will be able to answer it, or you will not remember, or you will not have read. Those are the two kind of scenarios which can happen. And invariably, 99% of the questions in partnership, all the chartered accountants can answer it in the first shot, because we have read it in Inter, CA Inter, we have read it in our graduation, we have also read it elsewhere, we are also applying it in our practice, we are doing partnership deeds, etc. So all of it can easily come. I am only pinpointing, or I am only leading you to certain questions which have appeared earlier or which are likely to appear. Right of an outgoing partner to share in the subsequent profit. Please go through this part of the partnership, because there was one question some time back on this right of outgoing partners to share in subsequent profits. If the existing partners agree to that, if the existing partners come to a conclusion or an agreement that they will be given a share of subsequent profits to the outgoing partner, it is possible. Mutual rights and duties, we know. As per the Partnership Act, the partners entitled to 6% interest on capital, whereas the partnership deed may slightly alter it here and there. Of course, income tax would be the bounding or will be the binding factor for the interest percentage if for having a more tax neutral effect. Property of the firm is one question which has come up. All the all the property brought into the common stock at the commencement of business, including trademark and goodwill. 1 second. I'm so sorry. I had some urgent matters to attend with respect to the court hearings which we have today. So I have organized my office to take care of it as much as possible. I'm sorry for the delay. In case you have any clarification up now, we can take. I think we are 20 minutes into this thing. I don't think you will have any clarification in this matter, but in case you have. Okay, so we will continue. Yeah, I have one in the chat box. Okay, please go ahead. Fine, fair enough. So when are the act which are, when is an act binding on a partner? The act is binding on a partner when it is done in his capacity as a partner, when it is done on behalf of the firm in the firm's name, or in the manner expressed by an agreement or implied by law. What happens in expressed by agreement? If a partner regularly comes for a certain auction, it is assumed that he is acting on behalf of the firm. Liabilities of the partner, all partners shall jointly and severally, again an examination question, all partners of the firm jointly and severally share the liabilities of the firm. But there are situations where certain partners will not share the liabilities. For example, a minor partner or a partner only for profits will not share the liabilities of the firm. But the general section 25 very clearly says that all partners of the firm jointly, severally share the liabilities of the firm. So the question will be, the liability of the firm is shared by all. That is the right answer. And there will also be an option where it is not liable for all the partners to share the liability. So our intelligence will say, since minors and partners only for profit are there, so we can take that. That will become a wrong answer. So please understand, please remember that the question is for the generally, not for a specific partner or a special partner as per the partnership deed. If it says like that in a, say, a case study or something like that, at that point in time, we can have a different answer. But generally, all partners of the firm are jointly and severally share the liability. Partner by estoppel is there. Yes, we can have a look at it. When can be expelled? A majority of the partners has the power to expel a partner only when the authority it is there and the power is exercised in good faith, and the expulsion is only when there is a criminal act, fraud, or being insolvent, or not investing the required share of profit, or gross negligence. These are the 5 buckets under which a partner can be expelled: criminal act, insolvent, not investing the share, causing by negligent, and committing a fraud. Criminal act includes a fraud also, where he commits a fraud on the other partners or on the firm. For example, making secret profits, doing business separately, or becoming a competitor to the firm. All those things would also be included. So these are the only conditions in which the majority of the partners can expel the partner. There is one situation where all the partners have to agree for something. We will come to that. Here, a majority of the partners, if they agree, they can expel a partner. Please remember this subtle point where it says that a majority of the partners is enough to expel a partner. Again, an examination question, it says that majority of the partners, all the partners, partners with maximum profit ratio, and partners with the maximum capital. All these four options will be given. So we have to be careful to say for expulsion, only majority of the partners is enough. So what are the consequences where a partner becomes insolvent? On the date of the adjudication, he is no longer in the firm. If there are only two partners, the firm would get dissolved automatically. There is no public notice to require to terminate his liability, because once a person becomes insolvent, there is automatically a public notice in the Gazette and in the other papers to show there is a public document which would proclaim that a person has become insolvent. So there is no requirement for you to have one specialized public notice at all. Whether the estate of the deceased partner is liable for the acts of the firm, where if the firm is not dissolved and it is continuing with the other partners, the estate of the deceased partner is not liable for any act after his death. Until the time when the partner was a partner in the firm, if there are any liabilities that has to be taken part by the estate and it has to make good the loss. After the death, the estate is not liable. The liability of a dead partner is same that of an insolvent partner, which we have seen. No public notice needs to be given in this also. So the two situations where up till now there is no requirement for public notice is insolvency and death of a partner. Of course, if the partner is a main partner, major partner, important partner, partner with maximum connections, all those things are there, there would be a notice given, but it is not mandated under the Partnership Act 1932. And again, one more important thing is, there was a question in the initial days, I don't know whether it is still continuing, where they will say Indian Partnership Act 1932, 1926, 1872 and 2016. So you just have a glance on all the acts which we have and the year in which it was established. For example, there are situations where this there was a question earlier where the Contract Act they asked 1872, and of course we will be able to answer it because we have also dealt with Contract Act significantly, but there are situations. Can insolvency of a partner bring an end automatically? Yes. Once the partner is insolvent and he has been proclaimed as an insolvent by the adjudicating authority, where there is an adjudication made, and if there are only two partners, the firm will be dissolved automatically. There is no need for the partner to be expelled. Insolvency is a separate one. There is no special requirement for expulsion, but the question you are asking is, when does an expulsion happen, which we saw earlier? 1 second. I just open that. I know where you're coming to. I will just open that expulsion. I will see 1 second. 4 conditions which we saw. Ground for expulsion, yes. Invariably, what happens here, there is on becoming insolvent, he becomes an insolvent without an adjudication. Where he is established to be an insolvent without an adjudication. He is not able to bring in the liability. He is not able to bring in the additional funds into the firm, and he is and insolvent for all practical purposes except being adjudicated by the court of law. In such cases, he will be expelled. In such cases, he will be expelled. Am I clear, sir? Shantiraj, sir? Yes, excellent. Very good question. It can be a question of the examination also. I really appreciate this question which you have asked. Okay, consequence of an insolvency partner. Yet we have seen 34, 35, we have seen 36 rights of an outgoing, rights of the outgoing. He has a right to do competing business. You have to make an agreement and restraint of trade. Only then will he be prevented from doing a competing business. Otherwise, in all practical circumstances, there is a situation where he can do competing business. You need to have that in. See, this is an examination question. Outgoing partner, does he have the right to do competing business? Our intelligence will immediately say, no, it is not fair. It is not nyayam. All those, rationale will come into our mind. But we have to remember that as per 36, I have a right to do competing business. I have to be restrained by an agreement. And that agreement should be reasonable. It must not say you must not do this business for lifelong. No, it can be either with the similar business of the firm or the restraint can be for a specific period. Invariably, it is 3 years or 5 years or within a specified local limits. There are very number of firms we know, like, for example, this Haldiram. What Haldiram you get in Chennai is not the same you get in Calcutta, and it is not the same you get in Delhi. So there has been and restraint of trade within the family, of course, for different purposes, for a copyright purpose, where they have specified the local limits in which they will do the trade. Will firm continue if there are more than 2 partners? And if any of the partner is declared insolvent? Absolutely. Either you expel the partner or you, if it is by adjudication, on the date of adjudication, automatically the partner goes out. You will have to settle the partner. Invariably, in such cases, the partner has to bring in money, which he would not have done. Or in case it has to be given, it has to be given to the settlement where the settlement authority is making a demand. You have to make that to him, and the firm will continue. Just because a partner becomes insolvent doesn't mean that that the firm will die. No. Rights of the outgoing partner for subsequent profits. The outgoing partner has a right for subsequent profits if the accounts is not settled and there is no contract exist on the same. On the same is on the right to share profits. So the partnership deed becomes a sacrosanct document. If the partnership deed has a clause to say that outgoing partner is eligible for the future profits, it will happen. Otherwise, it will not happen. Or until such time the accounts are settled, I can make a request or I can claim it as a right, and for both for profit and for interest of my capital. This right ceases by an agreement. The partner purchases the interest of an outgoing partner, obviously, because a new partnership deed would have to be done after the outgoing partner. What is meant by dissolution of the firm? The question raised by the gentleman here is also answered here. Dissolution of the partnership means dissolution by all the partners where the firm does not exist anymore. So the question which was asked by Mr. Krishnan was, will firm continue if there are more than 2 partners and if any of the partners is declared as insolvent? The dissolution happens only when all the partners of the firm agree for the dissolution and it happens. Otherwise, the firm will continue. Yeah. And dissolution by agreement, we know circumstances where it will compulsorily dissolve, in case of all or but one, where there are more than one partners and all the partners become insolvent, the firm is compulsorily dissolved. All partners except one become insolvent, the firm is compulsorily dissolved. And the business of the firm becomes unlawful. A classical example of this is before the introduction of the state-wise liquor sale through TASMAC, there were a number of wine shops which were existing across the city, and each of the wine shops had its own partners, written partners, unwritten partners, or whatever it is. Once the state government made a law that all the firms have to be closed, obviously all the liquor shops had to be closed, the wine shops, the way we say here, the wine shops had to be closed. And once it was declared as you should not do that business, it becomes an illegal business, and all the partnerships were compulsorily dissolved. In fact, income tax, in income tax, these wine shops had a problem, and many of us would have handled those issues, wherein on compulsory dissolution, there were issues which had to be raised, certain entries were not passed earlier, which was all passed and closed. Where a firm has more than one business, if one of the business becomes illegal, it will not amount to dissolution. Say the wine shops also had a restaurant, it also had a fancy store, it also had a exchange in the same name or under the same partnership. Just because the wine shop becomes illegal, the other businesses need not be closed. So it can continue the other activities, is what we need to remember. Contingency, we know. The closings of the firms and all, we know. Death or dissolution, completion of partnership at will, we know. So I will be slowly pressing the gas and going a bit fast. In case you need any clarification, you can ask. When can the partnership be dissolved by court? 4 reasons: breach of agreement, transfer of shares. If there are regular clauses, you can apply to the court and have the firm dissolved, and any other just and equitable cause. One classical example where we say everywhere and you can easily understand is where a husband and wife are 2 partners in a firm, and due to some issue there is marital discord, and they separate. In that case, on just and equitable grounds, the firm can be dissolved. Liability after dissolution is important unless a public notice is given. Here, public notice is important. For dissolution, public notice is important, whereas for retirement of partner, death of partner, or expulsion of partner, the public notice is not required. Please make a note of it, because this is an examination question. Public notice is required. In our intelligence, what we say, even for expulsion, when expulsion by adjudicating authority also, we will kick it off. So we need to be very careful. Partners are liable to share personal profits earned after the dissolution of the firm, unless there is a contract exists to the contrary, until the profits of the firm which has been earned by them individually. For example, one partner is in charge of collections, and after the dissolution of the firm, he was able to make a few collections. That collections has to be shared with all the partners. Winding of business, okay, any surplus is distributed among the partners, it's all a general one. Partnership of dissolution does not terminate either. Okay. Accounts of the partners, we can just have a look at it. Very, very, very simple. All of us know I should not be carrying coal to Newcastle. rules of payment of the firm and separate that. It is all how the debts of the partners are being settled, debts of the firm are being settled. It's important. The personal profits which we have seen. A partner is entitled for repayment of his premium. In case he has entered into a partnership for fixed term, he has paid a premium into the firm, he can claim. However, when the firm is dissolved before the expiration of the term, he cannot claim, or due to misconduct, he cannot claim a premium. So we need to understand what a premium is, and we need to understand when the premium can be asked back. There is nothing in contrary in partnership agreement provide for such a return of premium. Again, the partnership agreement becomes a sacrosanct document. Again, the restraint of trade we have seen. We have already seen the restraint of trade earlier, and the goodwill can be sold separately or along with the other property of the firm. An important development, and nowadays where the goodwill of the firm can easily be sold. For example, you take something like the Sarana Bhavan Hotel. Okay, the Sarana Bhavan Hotel name itself has a huge goodwill because people from North India come to Chennai to have food in Sarana Bhavan Hotel. It is one of the must visit places in Chennai for many people from north of India or from outside of Tamil Nadu as well. Even though there are these hotels all over the place now, Bombay, Delhi, Calcutta, all has it. In spite of that, that goodwill which has been created, it can be sold separately or it can be sold along with the other properties of the firm. We can value the goodwill alone separately and it can be sold. So these are the basic points in the Partnership Act. I will give about 5 minutes for you to just ask any questions in case you have, and by the time I will open the other act first. Was it very simple or was it very fast, or how do you feel the classes? If there is a course correction required, we can always do it. If there is any change you need to do, either increase the speed or reduce the speed, whatever it is, you can tell me. Ramesh Kumar sir, yes, you say it's perfect. Thank you. Since you are a very good friend, I think you are telling this. Let me wait for a few more people to give their views also. Yeah, no, I understand, sir. I understand. Rameshwaran sir is also telling perfect. Okay, so the speed is okay. Okay, right. Maybe because partnership is a known act to us, maybe the speed is okay. We have spent 15 minutes now. We'll be giving a break at 11:30. So I will take an act which we have not, regularly taken. I will try to take the Binami Act. Oh, he said that the Binami Act is not there for us. In that case, I will take an interesting act, the PMLA. Shall we take PMLA? Let me see the chat box. More information, sir, more information required to be delivered on examination point. The presentation speed may be speed up for all well-known laws. Sir, how do I know that we know well-known? We are every law, you know, sir. I am only trying to refresh all of us. You know each law, and as and when we come to the points of examination, I am telling the examination, sir. Examination points also. In fact, I'm also telling the examination questions which are there. In fact, from 2016, we have been collecting a number of questions, and only from those questions, as I see the presentation, I'm able to recollect the questions, and I'm sharing it with you. Kindly deliberate on PMLA, yes. So we will take on the PMLA, yes. Thank you. PMLA is an interesting act. You can just sit back and have a look at it. Only a few questions from PMLA Act is there in the whole thing. So we can just relax and have a national fervor, and we can look at the Money Laundering Act. Money laundering is nothing but conversion of dirty money into legitimate money. So one of the examples of conversion of dirty money into legitimate money, some politician will get bribe here. We give bribes to politicians. A politician gets bribe from businessmen, etc., or officials will get bribe for doing this or not doing something. So all this money, what happens? They have it in cash. Of course, you cannot give a check. You cannot give a draft as bribe. Invariably, what happens? It is cash, hot cash. This cash will go to some place, a tax haven or another jurisdiction, maybe Singapore, maybe South Africa, maybe Cyprus, maybe Cayman Islands, or maybe Dubai, which is the place where it is nearby only. They will take cash or the actual transport of cash either to Dubai or to Singapore. Of course, there is not transport of cash at all, only a chip will go. We know how the Hawala operates. From say Dubai, these monies will be split into 5 or 6 tranches, and each will be invested in one tax haven, say one in Mauritius, Cyprus, Cayman Islands, British Virgin Islands, etc. And all this money will come into the Mauritius route. All of us know of the Mauritius route, and from there it will be legally invested into India. It is known as money laundering. You clean the money. You clean the money with surf detergent and you bring it into India as clean money or legitimate money. It will come in form of FII. It might come in form of participatory notes, can come in various other forms, or investment into industries in India. It will come from abroad, which will make the dirty money a legitimate money. So that is what is money laundering. And what are the things? Are smuggling, drug trafficking, illegal arms sales, computer frauds, embezzlements are all regarded dirty money. So why am I spending so much of time? Computer fraud is also included in money laundering, one of the examination questions. So please remember to accept computer frauds as also money laundering techniques. There are 3 stages of money laundering. The stages of money laundering is again a question: placement, layering, and integration. Illegal funds are placed, as we explained, and then they are layered. Invoice of one company, transfer into bank of the company, and loan to another company, and wire transfer, offshore bank. All these are the layerings. Various layer, use of multiple bank accounts, intermediaries, corporation, countries, etc. to disguise the origin. Disguise the origin is very important. And last is the integration. Integration, what happens from here? It comes into the country as a clean money, and that money is used to buy the various luxury investments, commercial and industrial investments will happen in a money laundering scheme. So remember the stages: PLI, placement, layering, and integration are 3 stages of money laundering. Evolution, you can just have a look at it. Earlier it was, theft of the money, using the cashier's The check smurfing used to happen, and hawalas and hundis, underground banking system. The cashier of the bank used to give X amount of money in the morning. By the time the cash closes, he will get that amount plus one small commission for himself from the respective persons. In fact, one of the earliest known bank scam is that branch in Bombay, the cashier was giving like this to one individual for years together who used to trade. Earlier and all, you had to trade in the share market by shouting and showing the physical scripts, etc., etc. He used to trade, and he used to return that money along with a small commission to the cashier for a very long time. One day, that person who was doing the transaction passed away, and he was not able to return the money to the cashier, and the cashier got caught. That was when the banking decided that you have to rotate the cashiers from one branch to another on a frequent basis. Our friend, the cashier, was the cashier of the branch for a number of years. So that was one, lesson for them to rotate the cashiers. And from now, everything has improved through the politically exposed persons. PEP is very important nowadays. In all kinds of politics, there are illegal money being created in various formats. And terrorist, diamond, and blood financing are also forms of illegal money. And non-profit organizations, all of us are aware of it. Now the government is bringing the curbs even for the new registration. I think registration of the exemption registration is due to this, because money is being cleaned or money is being laundered through non-profit organizations. So all of this, you can just have a look at it to prevent. So the PMLA Act 2002, but came into effect from 2005. Whether it has been successful or not is $1 million question, and of course is beyond the scope of this class. But we need to understand with a pinch of salt that this prevention of money laundering is there from 2002. In fact, only from 2007-8 it started to increase in manifold, and both the department, even the Department of Enforcement, Revenue, and Ministry of Finance have not been fairly successful, I should say, in curbing it. So the PMLA Act is administered by the Directorate of Enforcement, Department of Revenue, and the Ministry of Finance, or in the Ministry of Finance. We need to remember this. This is again an examination question. One of the few questions in PMLA. We need to understand that the administration is done by these guys. It imposes obligations on all the banking companies, all the financial institutions, all the intermediaries in the security markets, because because of the participatory notes, a lot of issues have been happening, and the records are not maintained properly with respect to certain transactions to know whether it is an insider trading, or whether it is an illegal transaction, or whether it is a transaction to break the circuit. All these issues are there. So it imposes obligation on the brokers. Intermediary means the stockbrokers to maintain certain records and to furnish information of the clients, which is nothing but KYC of the clients is important. Nowadays, without KYC, it is not possible to open a demat account also. So one needs to appreciate this point. Banking company includes all nationalized bank, etc., all cooperative, primary cooperative, state cooperative, central district cooperative bank. Again, a question, an examination question. PMLA, according to PMLA, a banking company includes the RRBs also. Regional rural banks are also banking company for PMLA. So There cannot be an escapement to say that a particular bank, which is not a scheduled bank, which is a rural bank, all these banks are also included under PMLA for the administration of PMLA as a banking company. Please remember that RRBs and district level cooperative banks. This is again an examination question. Again, financial institutions, not only the institutions named in 45A, but also insurance company, hire purchase company, and chit fund companies. So the financial institution, as per PMLA, we need to know it properly. And who are the intermediaries? The intermediaries who have to maintain the records, which we saw under section 12. The intermediaries are the stockbrokers, subbrokers, transfer agents, registrars, merchant bankers, underwriters, and last but not the least, portfolio managers. Invariably, we tend to exclude the portfolio managers because even though portfolio managers are there, everything is routed through a stockbroker, either through the NSE or through the BSE or through a platform in which the portfolio managers play. Portfolio managers are the second level. First level, you have the stockbroker. Next, you have the intermediary, another intermediary, the portfolio manager, and below him you have the client. So please remember, portfolio managers are also intermediaries according to PMLA Act. Principal officer has to be there. The functions of principal officer not very important, but just have a look at it and know it. Every broker shall maintain a record of all the transactions, and he shall furnish information transaction to the director as and when the director requires it, and also KYC has to be performed on all such persons. Cash transactions value of more than 10 lakh, it has to maintain a separate record. All series of cash transactions connected below 10 lakhs or where the series of transaction within one calendar month, also he has to see, please verify the act, the present act for the amount, whether this 10 lakh is increased or not. I don't think it has, but actually according to me, it should actually reduce to 5 lakhs, but we just have a look at it. When you glance through the PMLA, even if you Google PMLA, you will be able to find out. All suspicious transactions, whether or not made in cash, including inter alia, all the thing in TMAT. Wherever there is suspicion, he has to make a note of it. That suspicion might arise due to a penny stock situation. That in fact, all the brokers were actually hauled up in the penny stock matters on one of the reasons, stating that you should have informed us on the transaction which is there. Is actually a bogus transaction. You cannot have one share which is about N paisa trading at about 100 rupees, 200 rupees. We should have brought it to our notice. Is one of the allegations made by the intelligence authority on the brokers. So they have to maintain a record and they have to inform also in certain points and time. So what are the suspicious transaction? Illegal activities conduct to disguise such funds, where you buy and sell only in order to disguise a particular transaction. You will have to do that with no apparent purpose. If there is a flow of money into the account and outside the account on regular basis, you need to take a look at it. On the sort of transaction the customer would enter into. The banks, the particular the intermediary should see whether this transaction is a transaction which the customer enters into on a periodic basis. Say in the account of a retired person, there is an inflow of $1 million. After 2 days, there is an outflow of the same $1 million. Again, it comes, it goes. So it has to create a suspect on the intermediary to see whether this account is being used by somebody else or how it is. We have all seen it during the demonetization, where the salary accounts suddenly had huge amounts coming in and going out. Yeah, so such are the suspicious transactions which we have. So who does all that? Multiple accounts. Again, if there are multiple accounts of the same person everywhere, and it was how it is easily mapped because of the Aadhaar number and linking of the PAN number with the bank accounts. As soon as you put even your Google Pay or Phone Pay, if you make a note, we are able to see all these things. So sudden activity in the government account is an example of a suspicious transaction. All these things we need to remember. Use of this different account alternatively. I might have multiple account and use different account from one account to other, transfer, withdraw money, other account from here, you transfer money here and you again transfer it back. All these things would lead to suspicious transactions. So client identity is important. We have seen we have to maintain the client records for 10 years. Again, have a look at it. The law, whether it has been altered or not, because many laws and many acts have been altered in the last about 5-6 years. So you need to be sure of the latest one. All you need to do is to Google as per the PMLA Act, the period for maintenance of the accounts will show you the latest one. So we need to do all that. So changes in the subordinate legislations are there, which is not too very important. And I think that's all. It is not much in this. I am just wait for some questions from you. I have told in the initial itself that I will be sharing the PowerPoint, Mr. Rajkumar. I think you have logged in late. Shruti, were you not able to hear me?
Sir, I did not hear for like 2 minutes. Your voice was not coming. Now again it has.
Oh, for others? For others also it's like that? No, I didn't do anything. No, I just kept a. What is this, sir? No punishment for the exam. I'm not able to follow. No punishment for exam. I don't know, sir, what you are trying to say. If it is a joke, we can hear it. If it is a complaint, also we will hear it. No problem, sir. I will share all my PowerPoint presentations as what do you call as a PDF. I would request all of you to take printouts, 2 PDF in one sheet, front and back, so that you can save a paper also and use a highlighter and mark all those points which I have discussed now or which you feel is important. Please mark it. Only then we will be able to, this thing. It was clear, but which are the punishment sections not required, sir? Punishment sections not required. I don't think there are any questions on the punishment sections because the IBBI is not trying to test your intelligence on punishment in PMLA, but it will try to test your intelligence on the penalties which are available under the IBC Act only. So these punishment sections are not important according to me. Would you perhaps be taking LLP Act? Okay, we will take LLP next. Okay, LLP again we can just skim through. Again, a very, very easy act. Is it enough to go through or should we go through the BAR Act? Rajkumar sir, if you have the time, energy, capacity to go through the BAR Act, nothing like it. But if you want to immediately write the exam, clear and be happy and carry on life, I think these things are enough. It is up to you. I cannot say, or I should not say that you need not study the Bar Act. If you want to study the Bar Act, you can definitely study. It will definitely be useful. So now, next we can go to, okay, we'll go to LLP as was requested. We'll go to LLP. LLP is a very small slideshow of 22 slides. So we can just skim through the LLP Act. 1 second, I'll just open it. So you're able to see the LLP Act now? Would anyone of you want a break or something? Either a bio break or a general break, or shall we take a break at about 11:30, 11:45? Anyone can answer in the chat box or unmute.
Sir, after the LLP Act, we can take it.
Okay, madam, as you say. Okay, fine. Fair enough. So LLP Act, again, all of us know it is only going to rush through that. All of us are aware of the LLP Act. Many of us are practicing it, are advising our clients on it. So we will rush through. The objective of this is to check the formation and the regulation of the LLP Act and matter concerned with. In a partnership act, the number is 100, which is restricted by the Companies Act. Whereas in a LLP, there is no restrictions on the number of partnerships. Then I've given 500 partnerships, 1,000 partnerships. Whether it is feasible or not, we don't know, but the Act does not prohibit. So what we are going to see here is the nature of the LLP, the partners and the relationship, because there is a slight difference between partner and the relationship. You have to have a designated partner, another important examination question. Extent and limitation of the LLP and the financial disclosures which are required to be made. Because unlike an partnership act, LLP, the documents are public documents. I can pay money and take the financials of any LLP at any point in time from the ROC. And of course, there are some restrictions, but it is more easier than taking it of a partnership firm. Partnership firm, the document is not a public document. And of course, we know the ways and means to take the accounts of a partnership firm, but generally, officially, it is not possible and it is not so easy to take out the accounts of partnership firms. But for an LLP, it is there. So what is LLP? LLP is the best practices of partnership, the best practices of company, bringing them together and creating a new entity. That entity would be a partnership with respect to the characteristic of the firm, and it will be a company with respect to the liability, wherein there will only be a limited liability. So LLP is a body corporate which has perpetual existence. Section 2, Section 31 of the Income Tax Act now includes an LLP also. With perpetual succession, as it combines the advantages of both companies and partnership. It is a separate legal entity. The provisions of the Indian Partnership Act will not apply on the LLP examination question. Please be careful. Whether the provisions of the Partnership Act 1932 will apply on an LLP, maybe it may be case study or it may be a straight question. It will not apply. LLP is a standalone legislation which has its own limbs, its own legs, its own heart, its own mind, and you cannot try to, impose Indian Partnership Act 1932 into LLP situation. Okay. So who can be a partnership? Again, as in a partnership, the partners can be both natural or artificial and artificial person. A body corporate, a individual or a body corporate may be a partner in an LLP. So can a partnership firm be a partner in an LLP? Please go through and find out. We will also find out. However, individual who cannot, just like a partnership or in the Contract Act, unsound mind, undischarged, insolvent, and insolvent, and apply to the court of or insolvent. These three people cannot be partner in an LLP. So the question comes, in a partnership firm, he has applied to the court for adjudicating as insolvent, whether he can be a partner, he can be a partner. When does he is automatically removed from the partnership or expelled from the partnership is only after the adjudication is over that he is an undischarged insolvent. So a difference between LLP and a partnership firm is in an LLP, even if an individual has applied to the court for adjudication, he cannot be a partner, or in case he is a partner, he has to come out of the LLP. Otherwise, he can be expelled from the LLP in a properly convened meeting. So please understand that an examination question with respect to he has applied to the court for adjudicating as an insolvent. Minimum 2 persons. There can be a situation where the business can be carried on by 1 person, which is not the case in the Partnership Act. It can carry on for 6 months, before which that 1 person should find his partner and must do the necessary compliances before the MCA or the LLP. In case he does beyond that, he is personally liable for all obligation, and the garb of the LLP is brought down and it becomes a sole proprietor for all practical purposes, especially with respect to the liabilities. A new concept in LLP, which is the designated partner. Designated partner has to be designated, and he is that partner who's going to sign. He is that partner who's going to do a lot of compliances with respect to the LLP, and there has to be 2 partners at least. It has to be guided in the incorporation document itself. All of us know that, and every designated partner is given on a number, DPIN, and another examination question would be is the expansion of certain abbreviations also, like for example DPIN, designated partner identification number. When I wrote the exam once, it was also the PAN also they asked for an expansion. Of course, 1 mark is assured for all of us, but we can't be so lethargic now because the examiners have also evolved and the examination questions have also evolved. And his appointment has to be informed within 30 days. Liabilities, EP is liable for all the complaints and penalties. You cannot say 1 for all and none for one. The other partners are not liable for the non-compliances. The other partners are not liable for the penalties. It is the designated partners who are liable for the compliances and for the penalties. Please understand one more example, examination question. Penalties are imposed for contravention of any act or any provisions of LLP Act. And if there is a vacancy, the DP should say within 30 days. If no partner is appointed as DP and there is only 1 DP, each partner is deemed to be a designated partner. Please, section 9 is important. If no partner is appointed as a designated partner, or there is only 1 designated partner, each partner will become deemed as a designated partner. Is one important examination question. Punishment for contraventions, or somebody asked for the punishment. Here you have in LLP 10,000 up to 5 lakhs. Who is eligible to be partners, which we saw? The person in the subscribers to the memorandum is there, and those names are provided in the LLP agreement. Also would be the partners are eligible to be the partners. The relationship is provided by the LLP agreement, which mentions the mutual rights and duties and mutual rights of LLP partners. Please just go through that. We have one, I think, I don't know what book has been prescribed for you, where we have the important features of LLP alone. In fact, this PowerPoint presentation is from that book only for the purpose of examination alone. Cessation of partners, register to change the partners, you have to do it. Whether partners are agent. Partners are agent of LLP. Again, section 26 is an examination question. Not for the other partners. Our intelligence will say, being a partnership is for all the partners. But in an LLP situation, there is no agency relationship between the partners. Everybody is an agent only to the LLP. It has a wheel situation where only the wheel and spokes are there. That kind of a relationship only that they are not agents of all the partners. The LLP is not bound by any act of a partner done outside the scope of authority, as in the Partnership Act also. If LLP is held liable for a wrongful act done by any partner in the ordinary course of business. Obviously, where there is an arrangement, the partners to do, if there is anything wrongful act done by one partner, the LLP is liable to, is liable for the wrong action. Liabilities of the LLP should only be met by the assets of the LLP and not with the assets of the partners. So there cannot be a situation in an LLP where the property of the LLP is there and the property is in the name of the individual partners. In fact, in a partnership, it is possible. In a partnership, the assets can be held by the partners. The partnership firm's asset can also be held by partners, but in an LLP situation, it cannot be done. Because for the simple situation, there is no all for one and one for all concept in an LLP. What is the extent of liability? The partner shall not be personally liable for the wrongful act or omission of other partners, but for his own wrongful act. Even if it does a wrongful act, the other partners are not eligible or not liable. Only that partner is liable for the wrongful act. Partners by holding out, fraud, what is it? And whistleblowing is another new concept in an LLP. Any partner act as whistleblower and during investigation has been very cooperative. The court may reduce or waive the penalty against him. So always it happens where one person becomes an approver and he shows all the wrongdoings of the firm. There is a possibility of him being acquitted. Yes, the accounts have to be done within 60 days and an annual return has to be done. Now I think the 60 days is altered. We need to see. And what I would also advise all of you to do is to check if there are any corona specific amendments in each of the acts, including the IBC, including the Companies Act and other acts. Please go through the corona related acts because there might be some one or two questions with respect to the COVID relaxations which we have. So it is all few and it is all general in nature, but it is important that we know all that. Documents, as I said, it is a public document, so there can be public inspection. What is penalty for false statement? Again, for false statement, there is a fine, and I think that is all it is in what we call LLP. Compounding of offences is possible, but in a partnership act, compounding of offences is not possible because there is no specific act which is administering it. It has to go in as a general suit only. And the destruction of old records, the registrar has the power to this thing, but we have to keep it for 8 years, just as per the Limitation Act. That is what it is. Can a registrar enforce an LLP to make returns? Again, an examination question. He can enforce an LLP to file. Otherwise, he can take action against it. Also, striking off also. And the tribunal, the company law tribunal, on an application made by the registrar, make an order directing the LLP or its designation partners to make good the default. So if there is a non-compliance, there's a fine to be paid. If the registrar is well within the power to go to the adjudicating authority, here adjudicating authority is a tribunal, is the NCLT, to make the payment, to make the compliances ready. So these are the LLP issues which we have. Any clarifications, I will take it. How about transfer of properties as compared to particular? Yeah, all you have to do is within 30 days, you will have to inform the ROC of all the changes which you are making. And unlike a partnership situation, there will not be a new partnership deed. The existing LLP document will continue, and you don't have to have a specific deed again. How about transfer of partnership under land? That is among the partners which you have to decide. Whether even in the partnership situation, whether you have to offer it to the partners or whether you have to sell it to a third party. It is, yes, there are a few differences between the normal partnership and LLP, which we have seen in the course of the presentation which we have seen. Okay, I will make a table, but it's not required, sir. It is not required. You will not ask. There will not be a question in your examination asking you to list out 5 differences between partnership and LLP. From examination point of view, I will just share an table, but it is not that very important. So we have now completed what all we have completed now. We have completed PMLA, we have completed LLP, and we have completed partnership. Yeah. After the break, we can take contract, which is very big. Negotiable Instrument Act, also very big. Sale of Goods Act, we can take, and also transfer of property. And I would require 5 to 10 minutes to give some general examination guidance, which is important, which is not like our CA exam. We have to be smarter than writing the CA exam to clear this paper. So we will also be doing it. Okay, now it is 11:30 now. We will assemble at 11:45 sharp. Thank you. Yeah, before 11:45, if anybody wants any clarification up till now, you can do it. I'm ready. So welcome back. Today we will, for the second session, we will start with transfer of property. This is a fairly, the water. We will skim through the Transfer of Property Act, and we will try to understand the examination questions which are available. It applies to voluntary transfers only. Whether Transfer of Property Act applies to all transferred is one of the question. It applies to only voluntary transfer and only movable properties. Because for movable properties, we have the Sale of Goods Act. So the Transfer of Property Act is only for immovable properties and for voluntary transfers. Voluntary transfers may be for money or maybe for other considerations or maybe for no considerations also. So accordingly, we need to understand. What we are going to see in this is sale, mortgage, lease, exchange, gift, and actionable claims. These are the issues which are going to see in the TP. Transfer of property by act of parties. It is only by the act of parties. So there has to be more than one person or entity involved in order to invoke the Transfer of Property Act 1882. Immovable property does not include standing timber, growing crop or grass. So does an immovable property include a plant and machinery which is embedded in the ground? Contemplate on that, we will come to it later. If the plant and machinery can be removed from the ground, reasonable amount of the plant and machinery can be removed from the ground, it would not amount as immovable property, even though for income tax it might be considered as immovable property, but for the purpose of the transfer of goods, but for the purpose of transfer of property, it is not. Transfer of property. Transfer of property means an act in which a living person conveys. Execution of a will, again, is an issue here. Living person conveys property in the present or in future to one or more living persons or to himself or to one or more other living person to transfer of property. So the transfer has to happen only for living persons. And there will be a situation where the transfer of property has to an unborn grandson. Can a person bequeath property to an unborn grandson? In such a case, it has to specify that in case there is no grandson born, how the property would be dealt with. That's an important aspect, has to be there. So there has to be a connection of a living person, one or more living person. If there is no unborn grandson, the property will go to the wife of the son or any other person who is living. Like that, it has to be specific. Living person includes a company, association, individual. Company is always incorporated, an association or body of persons may be incorporated or not. Another example would be also the HUF. HUF is an unincorporated body of individuals, and the transfer of property can also be with them. The person transferring property is referred as transferor and transferee. Transferor, transferee is a very common question. Under the Transfer of Property Act, please know who is a transferor and who is a transferee. Kinds of property of any kind may be transferred except chance of an heir apparent succeeding to an estate. If you have the heir apparent, and that property cannot be transferred. Interest in a property restricted to his enjoyment and owner possibly in a in a lease or in a release, there is a release made that until the lifetime of the settlor, the settlee is prohibited from making a sale. So if there is a restriction on this sale, it happens. Where there is a right to future maintenance, again in a settlement, where there is a right to sue, or in a public office, all these things cannot be transferred. Even though these are properties, cannot be transferred. No transfer can be made if it is oppressed to the nature of the interest. Hereby, you cannot sell a forest land. You cannot sell a land near the seashore now, within 500 meters from the beach or from the coastline. You are prohibited from buying or selling properties. Where a person is legally disqualified to be a transferee, he might be an undischarged insolvent, he might be a disqualified director of a company, he can be a person convicted of moral turpitude, etc., etc. All these things, the transfer cannot happen. And so now we come to the next question: who is competent to transfer? Every person competent to contract is competent to transfer. Again, an examination question: who is competent to transfer? Anybody who is competent to enter into a contract and has his own way authorized to dispose the transfer property as not his own. So an agent, our agent can also do a transfer. Such persons may transfer either wholly or in part, in either absolutely or conditional, in the circumstance, to the extent and in the manner allowed and prescribed by law. So the property can be sold in either, or it can be demarcated, it can be broken up, it can be sold in parts. There can be an absolute sale, or there can be a conditional sale. This conditional sale is, I am transferring this property to the transferee on the reason that I am unable to repay my debts. Where I am able to repay the debts within a period of, say, 2 years, 5 years, 3 years, whatever it is, this property will be given back to me, or the legal ownership of the property will be given back to me, is one conditional transfer which can happen. So either part or in full, absolutely, conditionally, either part or in full or absolutely or conditionally is the mode of transfer where a person can do. Again, an examination question. A transfer of property passes to the transferee all the interest in the transferor, which the transferor is capable of passing in the property, and the legal incidents thereof. If there is a pathway, if there is an access to the property, there is a pathway. That pathway is also deemed to be transferred. The transferor cannot say, I am only transferring the property, I am not transferring the pathway. No. Where the transferor has the right in the pathway, the transferee will also have a right by acquiring the property and by the operation of the transfer. If the property is land, the rent and profits. If the property is machinery attached to the earth, the moving parts is his. If the property is the house, the windows, doors, you cannot say that I am only selling the house, I am not selling the windows. No, it is impossible. Where an actionable claim, the securities, but not the arrear of interest acquired before the transfer. After the transfer, whatever are the rights in the which the transferee enjoys, all of it can be taken. The reason why the arrears of interest is not embedded in this actionable claim, when you transfer the actionable claim, all this will be factored in the sale price itself. Where the property is money or other property yielding income, the interest or other income thereafter, after the transfer is effected. So if you transfer a cow and at the time of transfer, you are not aware that the cow is pregnant. And by transfer, of course, it is not a immovable property. I'm just telling an example. So the transferee enjoys both the cow and the calf. The transferor cannot say, I only sold you the cow. You have to return the calf to me, which might be a good scheme for a Panchatantra story, but it is not. As per law, it cannot happen. So similarly, in a land after the sale, the transferee digs the land and he finds oil, assume. The transferor cannot say, I only sold the land to you, I did not sell the oil to me. It's not a correct proposition at law. Oral transfer of property may be made without writing in every case in which writing is not expressly required by law. But in all cases of business transfer, in all cases wherein nowadays all are by writing and executing a deed, executing a sale deed, a mortgage deed, or whatever deed for transfer, and seldom it is done by word of mouth, because word of mouth can be refuted at any point in time. I have two questions in word rent in the definition. See, I am purchasing a property which is already being rented out. I am purchasing the property with the rental. In such a case, the transferor cannot say that I am only selling you the house, I am not selling you the rental. It is included. The rents are included. The rent receipts are included, that it has to be paid to the transferee only in the future. With respect to actionable claims, I'll come a bit later. I will come a bit later and just explain it to you. Effects of condition is actually a very big slide. I have it as a very big slide. I don't want to take it completely in the sense that, you know, we land up not doing anything else in the future. What I would suggest is I would just share important things with you guys, and if you have any clarification, of course you have my email ID and it is there in each of the slides. You can just ask me and we can do it, because we have just 1 hour more and we have two Jambavans. We have in Contract Act and Sale of Goods Act. So I'll be going slightly faster. I'll be skipping a few slides, but these slides are there for us to read, and in case we have any clarification, always I can kind of explain that. See, in a property where there is a beneficial enjoyment of a property, direction for accumulation of income amounts to limiting the beneficial of property, which is beyond. Only if there is a specific agreement, or specifically you have agreed to it, or the life of the transferor is there and the transferor is invalid to make all these things, or is a minor. Until such time, there the direction for accumulation becomes voidable. It becomes void actually. Example is there to drive it further. X transfers property to Z with the direction that the income of the said property shall accumulate during X's lifetime and shall be given to M. The direction is valid only up to the life of Z and not after his head. These situations will come when there is a family settlement and an immovable property is involved, and there are accretions in the immovable property in forms of rent, lease, or some income from the property. Payment of debt of transferor or any other person having an interest is an exception. Accumulation for raising portion, providing portions to children or for people less than 18 years, etc., is an exception. And maintenance of property is also an exception. This is an outside question, outlier question which may come, but it is better to have section 70 in mind and do it. Where property is transferred, exception against the rule of perpetuity, where the property is transferred with restrictions for the benefit of people in general, then it is not void. For example, if the property is transferred and the income should be used for knowledge, religion, etc., health, for example, all the chatrams which we see, the Vaisya chatrams which have been bequeathed over the years, where the property cannot be sold, the property, in a few cases, there cannot be any changes to be made in the property also, and the income from the property to be utilized apart from the maintenance of the property to the general, like school or any religious activity or any small hospital, etc., like that. So that is an exception. Now, what is a vested interest? A vested interest is an interest in favor of a person without specifying the time when it is to take effect, or specifying that it is to take effect forthwith upon the happening of an event, is called interest is vested. Example which you have seen earlier also. Z has a vested interest in the property which he has transferred to X, because until Z's lifetime, the income shall be accumulated in the property will be given to M. So there is a vested interest here by that individual person. Interest of an unborn child, we have seen an interest created on the transfer of property for the benefit of unborn child. He acquires a vested interest upon his birth. Upon his birth only. Without the birth, it cannot happen. Although he may not be entitled to the enjoyment thereafter immediately on his birth, for obvious reasons, immediately he will not be able to enjoy, but he can. The property will not be transferred, or the property will be in the name of that unborn child, or if the child is born, it will be in custody with another person, maybe a parent or a natural guardian or any other guardian as the case may be. After that only, after he attains majority, the property will vest on him. We have seen many movies, having this issue, wherein a minor or a person of unsound mind and all will be there, and the properties will be tried to be usurped by the person who is managing the property. It might be his uncle, or that person might be the manager of the estate or something like that. I'll just take a short break here of about 2 minutes. I think one High Court hearing is on the way. I will just be back in 2 minutes. I will just instruct my office and just come back. If you have any clarification, kindly put it in the chat box. sorry for the interruption. So any clarification? Nothing. Nothing in the chat box. Okay. Frankly, what I would advise on transfer of property is you can kind of be chill on this act, because there are very few questions being asked. But having said that, we cannot take a chance. Maybe that one question or two questions which would come also would make the difference between 59 and 60, isn't it? So we have to look at it, but you can just go through this presentation alone and make your markings, which is more than enough. This presentation has been used for the IBC classes from 2016 itself. So I think it is more than enough. And if there are any new questions outside it, please let me be informed so that I'll be able to add those questions in the presentation as well. Conditional transfer. When is it void? When it is forbidden by law, fraudulently transferred, fulfillment is there. I have given the examples. Please go through the examples. And doctrine of acceleration is very important to understand the whole concept of transfer of property, but you only need to know an interest created in favor of one person, and by the same transaction, an ulterior disposition of the same interest is made for another. So it is a concept of it can be a fabricated document, or it can be the document can take an effect as though there are sale to more than one people. A transfers 500 to B on condition that he shall execute a certain lease agreement within 3 months of A's death. But if he neglects to do so, to C, B dies in A's lifetime. So obviously, the transfer of property will take on C. But it shows as though it is for B and for C. But actually, at the time of the agreement, because time is very essential one in the transfer of property, so one has to look into it. What's the question? Please take us through important sale only due to paucity of sign, just because we use a property. Yeah. But I have to see now which is it. It has been quite some time. Wherever I have examples, I will just skip it. And yes, wherever I have examples, I will not go through the slides at all, so that you can read the slide and also the example, which will be useful to you. I take your point and I thank you for that. I have been instructed to close the class by 1 o'clock sharp, so I will try to do that. So I think I'll close Transfer of Property Act, because contract and the scale of goods is more important. I will close the Transfer of Property Act, and I will open what we call now as our bedrock of all agreements, bedrock of all, or any commerce student, which is the bedrock, is the Contract Act. So we will go into the Contract Act. I will only be rushing through the basic points or the important points of the Contract Act. Let us see it. So here we'll be seeing the types of contracts, we'll be seeing the consequence of breach, we'll be seeing the indemnity guarantee and bailment and pledge. Bailment and pledge is very important, and equally important is indemnity guarantee, wherein they will check whether we have an understanding of the two concepts. It is very important. So please go through the bailment pledge and indemnity guarantee. Sure, 1 or 2 questions will be there from this topic in all the exams I have seen, and we have this, compulsorily, because as an insolvency professional, we need to know a lot about guarantees, because there is a specific chapter on guarantees which we have seen now, which is now in force. And also with respect to bailment and pledge, whether the rights of an RP is restricted or what are the rights of an RP in order to get the bailment and pledge also has to see if there are any property of the corporate debtor which is with another person or whether that has to be taken into custody. These things becomes important. Okay. So, okay, first we'll see. We will rush through void and voidable contracts because all of us are, most of us would be commerce students, and even otherwise as chartered accountancy students, we have read it. So a contract is an agreement where there is free consent, competent to contract, lawful consideration, lawful objective, and the contract itself is not expressed as void. These are the most things. So competent to contract is the age of majority sound and not disqualified by any other law. And here and where it is of free consent, we have to see whether there is coercion. Coercion is an committing or threatening to commit. Committing or threatening to commit is coercion. Please, these may be some outside questions which are coming. So, but of course, we need to know that also. And coercion is committing or threatening to commit any act which is forbidden, any unlawful detention or threatening to detain is coercion. So, free consent, if there is coercion in the contract becomes void. And undue influence, we know the father influencing the son, wife influencing the husband, husband influencing the wife, etc., are all examples of undue influence. And what is a voidable contract? Where the consent is by fraud, misrepresentation, or coercion, or other thing we have seen. So the contract is voidable at the option of first person. Just because a wife has influenced the husband doesn't mean that the contract is void. It only means voidable. If he wants to rescind the contract, he can come out of the contract. Otherwise, it will continue. It might be with father and son, employer-employee, any kind of a situation where one person is superior to another. I'm not trying to say a wife is superior to a husband. There will be chaos in the group. But what I'm trying to say is, a person is able to influence another person. You can skip agreement and it is essential to become contracts. Sir, if we skip everything, we can close it now itself, sir. So, and let me do it in a way which I think we'll do it, and we will take it up. And again, mistake of law and mistake of fact is also a examination question. We need to know what is mistake of fact and mistake of law, and what is the effect of mistake of fact and mistake of law. That needs to be known. Please make a note of it. And when because of the mistake it becomes void, when it is voidable, all those things have to be seen. And of course, agreement in restraint of marriage is void. It is only for academic purpose with respect to IBC. IBC doesn't go into all this. And agreement in restraint of legal proceedings is also void. So we need to, as IPs, you will be exposed to some agreements wherein the company, wherein the agreements between a holding company and a subsidiary company or a company with this associated enterprise will have a clause to say that I will abide whatever the holding company says, or I will abide whatever the associate company says. I will not make a litigation. Even if I make a litigation, there will be arbitration. Even if there is arbitration, it will be internal arbitration. It will be a skewed agreement. So an RP should know that in restraint of legal agreement, you cannot have a contract. Uncertain agreements, yes, are void. Void, wager is void. And now we come to contingent contracts. Contingent contracts, it happens or not. Insurance is a classical example of a contingent contract, all of us know. And we need to see at what point can it be enforced by law. So that we need to see. And I think this is a very, very, very comprehensive presentation which we have made for all the things about. There are totally about 47 slides in this with respect to the various important things which for the IBC exam, along with a few examples for us to read. So a day before the exam, after you have studied, just go through my slides and just read the slides as revision. And if you go, I think you'll be able to gather that 11 marks, which is the marks allotted for other laws. Breach of contract is important. When a contract has been broken, the party who suffers such a breach can take action. So what is a breach? Either there is an entitlement to receive which he has not received from the party who has broken the contract. You can ask for compensation, or you can ask for the same fulfillment to be done as though the breach is not there. And another important thing is you can sue for damages. As insolvency professionals, we need to, there will be various occasions wherein there will be breach of contracts, either in a construction company or with a builder or anything like that. If we are authorized representatives, we will have to take up this breach of contract in a very big way. Of course, we have the examples for us to have a look at. How the compensation is to be stipulated. Again, we have to see section 74. Who can rescind the contract? Who can rescind the contract, and what he can do for the non-fulfillment of the contract, what he can do, how he can claim damages. And now we come to the indemnity and guarantee. The contract by which one party promises to save the other from loss caused to him by the contract of the promiser himself or by the conduct of the other promise called the promise of indemnity. We are very well aware. Indemnity is nothing but surety. They will try to confuse you with surety and indemnity. The question will try to confuse you rather. So please be very careful about it. A promisee in a contract of indemnity is entitled to recover. So the bank is entitled to recover the money either from the customer or from the person who has given the surety. All damages which may be compelled to pay, all cost will come into the indemnity holders' right. Indemnity holders' right in our case is the bank. Contract of guarantee is to perform a promise or discharge the liability of a third person. The person giving a guarantee is a surety here. Here the promisee is the surety here, and the person in respect of whom the default is given is the principal debtor, invariably the bank. The person who the guarantee is given is called the creditor or the customer of the bank. Consideration, we know that. Surety's liability, we know you would have read section 95 of the IBC, where all the liabilities are explained. Be it as it may, the liability of the surety is coextensive with that of the principal debtor, unless otherwise it is provided in the contract. So when there is a issue of bank, you will have to read the contract to say whether at what time is the trigger of the liability of the surety on payment or after the exhaustion of certain remedies against the principal debtor. That has to be seen. NBFCs, a few NBFCs have some different kind of sureties also. That also has to be seen properly before you come to a conclusion. I'm just telling it, assuming that all of you, by the grace of God and by the best wishes of all of us, will become IPs shortly. Okay. So now we have a continuing guarantee. Continuing guarantee is a very interesting thing. All you need to read this, you will understand what a continuing guarantee is. Whether a continuing guarantee is revoked, yes, it can be revoked. It can be revoked only for the future guarantees. It cannot be revoked for the previous one, which has already happened. So on the death of a surety, the revocation of the continuing guarantee becomes automatic for all future transactions. So up till the transaction, the estate of the surety or the legal heirs of the sureties are liable completely. Otherwise, it can be it can be very well closed. The surety can be closed. And variation in contracts, again an important question. Any variance made without surety's consent in terms of contract between the principal debtor and the creditor discharges the surety. It is an examination question. Almost all examinations have got questions on surety, the liability of the surety, when the surety gets discharged. So there is a variation in the terms of contract between the debtor and the creditor, and the person giving the surety is not aware of it. So the consequence of such an action is A, B, C, D. The surety will continue, the surety is discharged, the surety can claim compensation, or the surety need not be informed. It would be the question. And we should say that in case there is a variation without surety's, not only information, here it is without the surety's consent is important. Surety's consent is important for the change. So that's an examination question. Please make note of it. Section 133 of the contract. When is the surety discharged? When the principal debtor is released from act of this thing, he will be discharged. So subrogation, have a look at the subrogation, section 140. Now we come to bailment. Bailment is the delivery of the goods by one person to another person for some purpose upon a contract, that they shall, after the purpose is accomplished, be returned or otherwise disposed of according to the direction of the person delivering them. Please read this and understand it. Break the definition and please understand it so that we can appreciate the whole bailment and claim. These are all very simple concepts. For chartered accountants is actually very, very easy for practicing once. But what happens is that our intelligence will come in between your eyes and the screen and try to play havoc. So we need to understand this as an examination question. So we know who a bailor and a bailee is. Bailor is not liable for loss, and when he is not liable, and when the conditions are consistent, inconsistent, what happens? Liabilities of the bailee who is making unauthorized use. If I give a particular good, a car for only transport of passengers, I should not use the car for transporting dead bodies, or I should not use it as a mortuary van. These are classical examples which we give for liability of the bailee for making unauthorized use. In that, if there are any damages caused, he has to replace that the bailee should replace it. Okay. Lien on goods, particularly lien on goods. In fact, A gives cloth to be a tailor to make a coat. B promises A to deliver the coat as soon as his finished, gives 3 months credit. B is not entitled to retain the coat until he is paid. Entitled to retain the coat until he is paid. Now we have the general lien. You can just have a look at it. And then is the mercantile agents also. When there is a pledge made by a mercantile agent, I think I will rush through and close because I have another important thing to share with you. I just remembered. Okay. Before we go into the last session of this Sale of Goods Act, which of course all of us know, and we can also try to skip it. Shall I talk about the essentials of examination, how to approach the examination, what to study, what not to study, how to study, or shall I go to the Sale of Goods Act? I leave it to the participants to advise me on this. According to your interest, we will do it. Exam, okay. This is the standard answer which I get in all the classes which I do. And it's not that, just because we have not completed or we have rushed through, there is any disadvantage to you. All of us know that it is only a point of revision, and you can read the presentation and you can do it. Okay, if anybody wants to switch on the video, you can now, absolutely no problem. Next 5-10 minutes, I will be sharing on certain important points for the examination. Yeah. I will send all the PPT, sir. Not to worry. Exam tips. It's not made into a PPT. It's not meant to be made into a PPT. I will just explain it. You will have to either note it down or you have to listen to me. That's all. I don't have a presentation for the examination tips. So be it as it may be. Yeah. So the insolvency bankruptcy exam also. Yes. I will do. In fact, we will do some amount of SOG also. You don't have to worry. See, the insolvency bankruptcy examination is a fairly easy examination. Anybody, even without preparation or with basic preparation of the IBC Act alone, instead of reading all the other ones like the utilities, like the other administration acts which we have, even without that, if you write the exam, easily anybody will get 40, 45 marks. All will get 40, 45 marks. There is no second thought about it at all. But it is not enough. We need minimum of 60 marks to pass. There has been a situation where, I have written the exam thrice. I got 54, 58 and 66. I don't know, 66 or 76, I don't know. I got a very good mark. The exam in which I cleared. The first two exams, I was already a faculty, I was already taking classes. In fact, many of our friends were asking, you are taking class, why did you not write the exam? So for the heck of it, I wrote. And please be aware that I was aware of almost everything. I was taking other laws. I was doing all the portions in IBC. In spite of that, I was able to get 54. So that is why I said, anybody only studying IBC going and with the common knowledge, the common sense, and your work experience, surely you will get 40 to 50 marks. No doubt about it. Everything is only in that balance 10 or 20 marks which you need to have. I would urge each one of you to study the whole syllabus as though you are a 12th standard student. I did that. In fact, my wife even now quotes me as an example to my children. Every day, mornings 4 o'clock to 8 o'clock for about a month I studied, and evening between say 8 and 10 or 7 and 9, every day I used to study in my last attempt, the attempt which I cleared. The other attempt and all, I was very confident. What IBC we are teaching to everybody, what will they do? I mean, how will I even fail? Absolutely, I was so overconfident and mental. Kindly do not have any kind of overconfidence. No, sir, there is no single book exclusive, sir. IBC is not, you have to toil, you have to read multiple books, you have to read multiple choice questions also. You have to see the IC, you have to see the company secretary website and take the question papers. You have to see I will not tell you anything about this comment, but Mr. G. Shekhar's book is good, but I don't know whether it has been updated for the present one. If it is present, if it is updated, you can use it. But however, you will have to know the objective type questions. What kind of objective type questions which is more important. Okay, so be it as it may, I would say that you need to put on your head, study seriously in order to clear the paper. It's not easy, and especially the case laws which we have now. Earlier, when we had only 8 or 10 case laws, ICI versus that Innovex, Innovation, all those case laws only we had, which was easy for us. Deutsche Bank, all those case laws which we had, which was very easy for us. Nowadays, every day we are getting 10, 20 case laws, and the number of case laws by the IBBA has also increased phenomenally. So we need to have a fair knowledge. I would not say a thorough knowledge. You don't have to know which NCLT, which NCLAT, whether it is Supreme Court alone you need to know, but with respect to NCLT, NCLAT, you don't have to know. There will be questions from the case laws itself. there will be questions from the case laws itself, which we have to, appreciate and understand. So we need to study. Please don't jump into writing the examination. And once we see 56 or 57, our spirits will be demoralized. So make sure that we have studied, make sure that you are confident, and then attempt for the exam is my suggestion. There will be counter suggestions or various other suggestions. Please consider whichever suggestion is useful to you. I am only sharing my experience. I studied for about 30 days like this, like a 12th standard student with all seriousness, and I was able to get 66. In fact, I closed the paper. I had completed the paper within 40 minutes. I didn't have that 2 hours and all. I completed the whole paper within 40 minutes. Okay. Now, this is with respect to the studying part. Now we will come to the examination part of it. Examination part of it, wherever you have to click it in the first shot. If you don't click it in the first shot, you please omit that question. For the examination, you can take one sheet of paper. I always take one sheet of paper in which whichever question which I know is 100% right, I will just mark it. And if I have not done it, I'll have a matrix of, it's about 98 questions or 96 questions. I don't remember, because a few questions you have 2 marks and all. I have that amount of questions and I start writing and I start marking in that. You are allowed to take one paper inside, or maybe you take your examination hall ticket not back to back, but you take it in one side printout so that you can use the other side. They will ask you to return that paper which you have marked. If you want to, you can return it. I have always returned it, but I remembered the questions and I was able to bring out more than 60 or 65 questions from the total number of questions which we had. So you have to answer it in the first shot. Only there our intelligence will come to play, or our intelligence will come as an handicap. For the various examples which I showed during the class, there will be certain situations where we will know the answer, but our experience or our experience and exposure will cloud the correct answer. So that is the only reason for which we have to read. Otherwise, we know everything. You have to read it as though you are reading it for the first time. You have to read as though you are reading it as a child. You have to have that inquisitiveness, that curiosity into the subject. I know we have read Contract Act 100 times. I know we have read the Income Tax Act 1,000 times. I know we have read all other acts at some point in time, because all of us would be chartered accountants, advocates, or finance professionals in various formats. So in order to have that first shot correct, we need to study properly. And please don't look at your neighbors. Please don't look at others, whether to see they are fast or you are fast. You have the clock in front of you, or remove the watch in front of you, keep it, have a look at that and do it. And now coming to the case study. Case study, initially when you see, you will get the case study in the full screen. As soon as you see the full case study in the screen, please make short notes of it in a way that you don't have to see that screen again. That screen will not come. Once you have answered one question, it will come in a very short and a concise form, wherein reading might also be a problem. So as soon as you see the case study, please make notes very clearly of the amounts, of the dates, of the issues, and what is asked. You just make some short notes in about 5-6 lines or 5-6 sentences, or make short points. And after that, you answer the questions with your notes, not again going into the case study question per se. The reason why I am telling is, important one is becoming very short. It is actually very small in the second time when it comes. And when you read the question, you will be able to know the answer because you have already written the important points. You only have to corroborate or confirm the correct answer from the question, because as you read it, you will be able to know the correct answer. This is again, I am telling. And in case you are in doubt, especially of case laws or any answer, please avoid it, please leave it. It's like a ball outside the off stick. You will have to raise the bat and allow the ball to go to the wicket. In fact, in my 66 marks, only 4 were wrong answers. The other answers I had not even attempted because I didn't want to take a chance. Because please remember, you get 0.5 negative marking. And that negative marking will kill you. There are various situations wherein my friends, one of my very good friends, he got 59.75. He literally went out of the hall with what do you call very, very, very sad face. He got 59.75. Imagine after slogging and getting a 59.75. Please be sure of your answers and please don't try to make intelligent guesses. Our intelligent guesses are not as intelligent as the computer. The computer knows what's the answer and the computer will give that answer very correctly, and in all probability ours may be wrong in case we don't know. In case you don't know, please don't attempt that question. Please don't attempt the question and get a negative mark. I would only like all of you to get positive markings and clear the exams rather than going in the negative markings. Now coming to the IBC code, you have to know the IBC code inside out. You have to know the regulations inside out. You have to know the code inside out. Now with the advent of section 95, other amendments, whichever amendments applicable, you have to know it inside out. You make your own charts while studying. You have to make your own chart. For example, why am I out? You have to make your own charts, especially for penalties, especially for interesting concepts. One concept which I always tell my students, of course, even at the sake of repetition, it is actually worthwhile, that IRP to RP is not automatic. Whereas from RP to liquidator is automatic. In fact, in my room, I had made a note and written it, and I have stuck it in a piece of paper. IRP to RP is not automatic. The COC, the first COC has got all the rights to change the IRP and appoint another RP. Whereas for a situation from an RP to liquidator, if the RP gives his consent in that respective form after the amendment, he will be appointed as the liquidator, provided there are any serious allegations or any other issues with respect to the resolution profession. So like that, the small subtle points are there, especially in penalties. Especially in penalties, you have one for 5,000, one for 5 lakhs, one for 1 lakh, one for 50,000, 125,000. You need to make a chart. Of course, all this will give you only 2 marks. But if you lose that 2 marks and you keep losing a lot, it's not worth it. And another important thing one needs to do is dates. 7 days, 21 days, 28 days. You need to make your own table. Please don't copy any table. Please don't take others' tables. I would require each one of you to make your own tables with respect to the dates and the penalties so that you will remember. In fact, what I say is like the film Robo, the table must come in front of our eyes when we are clicking the mouse. That must be the level of preparation with which we need to go. And with that confidence only we can do it. And if I remember anything else, I will come back. Madam, I still have a sale of goods act to complete, and a few people have asked to just rush through the important points. I will do that. In between, I wanted to share this examination which you are actually asking me to share, so that it will be useful for the students.
Yeah.
So I will share, one second, I will share the negotiable instruments also we have. We will try to rush that also. Seems to be some problem. 1 second. Thanks for examination tips. Not at over, sir. I still have few more tips. I'm not able to remember exactly. I will just come back to you on that. 1 second, sir. Sale of goods act, sale of goods act, CA. Sale of goods act, I have about 44 slides with me. I effectively will have about 35. See, you have to read all the objectives of all the acts. Especially if you read the objective of IBC, there is an important phrase which says maximization of the value for all the stakeholders. Maximization of value not only for the financial creditor, operational creditor. The preamble to the code is extremely important. Similarly, please have a glance at all the objectives of that, including income tax, IBC, other acts, and whatever we have. Everything is available in the Google. All you need to go to the act and see the preamble, you will be able to appreciate. Objective of act is to amend the law relating to sale of goods act. The history is, before the sale of goods act 1930, the sale of goods act was administered by the Indian Contracts Act 1872. After the sale of goods act in 1930 and the partnership act in 1932, these two topics were carved out of the contract act, wherein the earlier contract act from 1872 to 1930 was all pervasive and was used for all aspects. So that is why contract act is known as the bedrock of all the enactments in India. Business enactments. So here also we have the contract of sale, breach of contract, rights of the unpaid seller, and performance of contract, effect of performance of the contract. Again, the buyer, seller, property definitions will have. Goods includes every kind of movable property other than actionable claims. Sir, now you are able to see why actionable claim is included in Transfer of Property Act. It is for a conscious reason. It is removed out of the Sale of Goods Act, and it is included in the included in the Transfer of Property Act. Transfer of Property Act includes actionable claim. In fact, I had a query about this actionable claim, which I said I will come back a bit later. So please understand, I don't think anybody now will actually forget that actionable claim is not part of Sale of Goods Act. Again, an important question. It is an examination question which has come once. Contract, agreement, sale and agreement to sell. I don't have to carry coal to Newcastle. Contract of sale, it must be expressed in writing, oral, or partly in writing and oral. So a contract of sale need not be in written form always. perishable goods, how they are telling. What is the question? With reference to reference and answer. We'll never forget. No. Thank you, sir. I'm glad that you appreciate this. Yeah. The goods must have perished before making the contract. The sale becomes void, and the seller must not be aware of the destruction of the goods. So the sale is void and not voidable. So when is it void and when it is voidable, you need to have a look at it. And price must be ascertained. It can be fixed by the contractor, may be left to be fixed in agreed manner. It can be determined in the course of dealing. Whether time is an essence of contract of sale. Again, an important question. Stipulation of time of payment is not deemed to be an essence unless a different intention appear from the term of the contract. Again, the term of the contract is sacrosanct. And if there are any kind of a situation where the payment, again an examination question, immediately we will say stipulation of time. Yes, it is important. Stipulation of the time of payment is not deemed to be an essence of contract. That is why IBC has been created after so much of defaults. But please, this section 11 is an important section and an important question also. All of us will say it is an essence. It is an essence, but it is not. As per the Sale of Goods Act. Again, condition and warranty. Please read what is the difference between a condition, what is the difference between a warranty. If I promise to sell you coconut oil, I have to sell you coconut oil. I cannot give you palm oil. But warranty is I buy a fridge, that fridge is repaired after 1 week, after the stipulation period. I can claim damages, I can have it repaired, but I cannot reject the fridge. I have to take it unless you buy it in Amazon, and within 7 days it happens. When is a condition treated as warranty is an important thing we need to do. And what are the implied conditions of a contract of sale? That the seller has got the right to sell the goods. In case of agreement to sell, he will have the right to sell the goods at the time of the sale. He will have the rights to sell the goods at the time of the sale. And there is no conditions involved. The buyer can enjoy the quiet possession of the goods. If I am buying 5 chickens, it is within my right to eat the chicken. The seller cannot say, no, you should not eat the chicken. These are all giant chickens. You should only preserve the chickens. You should only grow the chickens. It is not possible. So it has to be, the buyer has to have a quiet possession of the goods. And the goods should be free of any charge or encumbrance. There is nobody else coming for the possession of the goods. So that itself includes in the quiet enjoyment of the goods. Implied condition, yes, that okay. There can be a sale by description, we know that, and we are buying so many things on Amazon. And if it is by we only see the photograph and we buy the goods, and where the buyer has seen the goods, but he buys them only on the basis of description. There is a small description in Amazon, and the method of the packing may be described or may not be described. We have come to understood that if it is Amazon, the packing will be so safe that we can take it. Otherwise, we can reject the goods. If it is otherwise than on the description, the goods can be rejected. And the classical example is buying through Amazon. Implied condition on the fitness. I have a implied acceptance that the particular goods will be new unless otherwise it is stated that old or refurbished or whatever it is. I am implying that the goods are new, the goods are reasonably fit. It can be used immediately. If I'm buying a pen drive from Amazon, I can be reasonably sure it is an implied condition that as soon as I buy it, I can just fix it in the computer and start using it. I don't have to, repair it, install it, etc., etc. All those things is not there. Sale by sample, we have seen sale or return. Almost all the Amazon products are sale or return. Only the Only small difference is that we make an advance payment and we take the product and we check it. And if it is not as per our satisfaction, we return. Risk which passes with the property is the goods shall remain in the seller's risk until the property is transferred to the buyer. There can be contract wherein the buyer will take possession of the goods from the premises of the seller also, and there can be situation where the seller undertakes to bring it to the buyer's place, install it, and then see whether it is right. Until such time, the risk will be to each other as the case may be. You read section 26 and with the examples, it will be more than enough. Sale by a person not owner, I can be a joint owner, I can be a co-owner, I can be an agent, I can be a Delcardar agent, I can make. And the regular question is, can a sale be made by a person who is not the owner? And you may have four options, and it is possible in case of several joint owners, co-owners, it can happen. There has to be some linkage of ownership with the property. Either or the owner should have authorized you to do the sale. Only then it can be done by a owner. My neighbor cannot come and sell my goods which is in my shop. It is not possible. There has to be a linkage. You need to understand the linkage. Delivery of goods we have seen. Duties of buyers and seller, I don't have to tell it. You can just have a look at it. Effects of part delivery also you have to see whether a delivery is in full or part. Because again an examination question. Section 34 is an examination question. And the duties of the buyer to apply for delivery apart from any express contract. The seller of the good is not bound to deliver them until the buyer applies for delivery. Again, an examination question. All of us will assume that if I bought the product, it is the duty of the seller to come and give it to me in my house. That is the usual understanding, or that is the usual expectation we have. But Section 35 says, unless the buyer applies, even in an Amazon, unless you say where the goods have to be delivered, Amazon will not deliver it to you. It will ask whether should I deliver it to your usual address, new address, you want to change the address, amend the address, all those things. Wrong quantity, I can ask for the balanced quantity, or if it is not possible, I can reject the quantity either in whole or in part of it. Of course, in this matter, the usage of trade, special agreement and all will come into play. So buyer right of examination of the goods, I think now we know all of these things are in very, very simple English. We have transferred it in simple English so that we can understand along with the sections. In case you want to have the read the Bar Act also, you can see the Bar Act. Otherwise, you can just read these presentations and it will be enough for you is what I feel. And if there are any other questions we can take, otherwise I will start the concluding remarks which I have. You can note down my email ID and you can note down my phone number. You can always contact me at any point in time for any clarification, including IBC and other issues clarification also. If you want to drop me a mail, please drop a mail stating, and in the subject you please make a mention that you are a student in the ICAI and you are writing the examination. Anything to understand the basics of Constitution of India? No sir, Constitution of India, I don't have it right now. We don't have time. In fact, Constitution of India, there might be a few and far in between, which I think you should be able to manage. Any other questions?
I think Constitution of India, just go through the articles and just see basic, which are constantly touched upon in the case laws. Just go through those articles.
Correct.
Go through the index of the Constitution and understand what is each article pertain to.
So, there are any clarifications we can do. I will see if I can make a presentation on the Constitution of India and also share it with you. I don't assure, but I will try to do it. I'll ask my office to work on that and send. But I have to see for how much is it relevant for. It is relevant for us. See, for 1 mark, see, you have to see like the film Panchatantra, Chinna Kallu Pedda Labam. You have to read little and you have to score more marks. As it is, this 11 marks is important. You cannot clear the exams without this 11 marks is my firm belief. But wherever there are these 1 or 2 marks, you must be able to, leave it a pass. You are not, please understand, you are not in the business of acquiring knowledge. We are all here only to clear this examination. So that is the basic and that is the primary objective. As long as you clear the exam, after you clear the examination, you can buy the 3 volumes of Constitution of India. I can tell you, you can buy 3 volumes and you can read it. I have also bought it. In fact, after the exams, I bought it. It is nicely placed in my. You want to clear the exams, fine. It is nicely placed in my shelf, and I read it once in a while when some constitution matter comes or something like that. So I once again place my gratitude to the institute and of course to Revati Madam for giving me this pleasurable honor of addressing the members who are shortly going to be IP professionals, and we welcome you into the profession. Madam is also an IP, she's also an acknowledged resolution professional. So we welcome you into the profession and looking forward to have interactions with you as professionals before and after passing the examination. So I thank you one and all. I think we had to rush through because we didn't have an option, because usually other laws I get about 6 hours, madam. You know that morning and afternoon I get 6 hours, and now with the 3 hours I try to do. And if you ask me whether either I am satisfied, I'm really not satisfied because I had to rush through a lot of slides. I wouldn't say even a few slides, but I think we have fairly covered. We have fairly covered everything. It's a very nice note by Shri Shantiralji. He says, "This is my 2nd session of you, sir. Very helpful. Your PPT should be guiding light for me to wade through the sea of other." Yes, sir. It will be there, sir. You will surely manage. And I mean, after all, my slides are only for 11 marks. You still have 89 marks to complete. I think you will do it, and absolutely easy. But please don't take it so easy and all. I would request you to have it with all seriousness. Thanks a lot, and wish you all the best.
Thank you very much, Ramna. The hallmark of a good faculty is they are dissatisfied with whatever they present. Okay, because you always feel like I could have done it better, I've missed out something, this is important. So hallmark of a very good faculty is that, I would say. So friends, you will know the caliber of our faculty who has so generously come and shared his knowledge with us. And still says, I'm not satisfied, I should have been given some more time. But unfortunately, this is the time limit that we have. And for 11 marks, he has, done such a comprehensive work on all the acts. The other acts, 1 or 2 will always be there, which as chartered accountants, we will have some working knowledge, something which we would have read long back, and we keep updating ourselves during the practice also. So I don't think that you will miss out any marks, like how he said 11 marks is going to be make or break for us, a tiebreaker kind of marks which we will get. You will definitely get at least around 8 to 9 marks out of these questions. SEBI, LODR and all, just glance through it, you will be able to do. Companies Act, we'll know what it is, we'll know all the other acts. Whatever has been, not handled also, when you are doing the model question papers, you will automatically get to know about them. So the depth of your preparation is also in handling all the model question papers which are available across Google and in all the books. And there is also one Praveen Thakkar which we all referred to. One model question paper book.
Yeah. Praveen Thakkar is there, and tomorrow we have the master faculty, Ashish
Yes,
Makija, is
absolutely.
master of all masters. So
Yes.
I think he will be able to guide you through. And one more practical tip which I want to give you is, whichever book you are using and whichever barrack you are using, especially for IBC, please be liberal to market. Please be liberal to market and make your notes in the side and have flags as though there is no tomorrow.
Yes.
If you, in case by God forbid you have to write an exam again, all these things will be so excellently be useful to us. And please make a marking in all the papers, all the things you have to write. The more you write, the more you will click correctly. Is my learning and my this thing.
Yeah, yes, sir. And these sessions are recorded, and we will be sharing the recordings with you. You can access them whenever you want to access them to prepare for the examination. It is all available, and we the WhatsApp group also. I think I will add Ramana, if you don't mind, I will add you for some time so that
Any clarification which they want, they can. I have also shared my coordinates in each of the presentations at the end. And you can also add me to the WhatsApp group. They can also message me one-to-one, absolutely no problem. As far as I can share, I will definitely share.
Yeah, and friends, like how Ramana said, tomorrow we are having the superhero faculty Ashish Makija. So in case you have time, I would suggest brush up through whatever has been covered on all these days. You have any doubts, you can ask him then. And also the case laws will make so more sense if you do a quick reading of what was covered in all these days. And we are very lucky that he is accepted to come and address this group of participants. So please do make use of his session tomorrow. So I'll close the session for today. Ramana, thank you very, very much for accepting our invite and coming here. And he, always he comes and he shares his knowledge. And I think he's the best person for other laws, even though he says he would prefer to do CIRP. I tell him, no, you please do other laws, because an advocate and a chartered accountant is the only person who can do justice to this. Not a pure advocate or a pure chartered accountant. Holistic understanding is what is needed for this from the exam point of view. And he's been addressing these even before he cleared the insolvency exam. So you can understand the level of knowledge and experience he'll have on this. Thank you very, very much. We will keep disturbing you like this again and again.
Anytime, madam. It's my pleasure. It's no disturbance at all. And coming to one's home is not at all a disturbance. Always my pleasure. At any point in time, I'm always available. Thank you.
We are fortunate that you did this. So thank you very much for accepting again, Ramana, and thanks for taking the time to do this. Thank you. Friends, we will meet again tomorrow. There's one more message. We'll have CIR. Oh, they want a CIRP from you too.
If you have the time, you give me tomorrow also, we can do it. Tomorrow I have IIT classes. Maybe if you can organize one, we can do a very quick one.
I'll have to ask the CPE team whether there is.
Otherwise, we can do an offline also. Also in Zoom, we can, whoever is interested, I can do a short course, existing class for 1 hour or 1.5 hours, trying to skim through the whole thing, which is important and all.
Yeah, we can.
In case it is required.
Okay.
We can actually plan it in our WhatsApp.
Yes,
group.
we'll do that. Yes.
You can coordinate, madam. Yeah.
We'll do that. Okay. Thank
you.
you.
All the best. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Friends, thank you. See you all tomorrow morning. Please try not to miss it. Come and join on time, because Ashish Makija is one of the most sought after faculties for this case laws, and he has written books and he conducts this program in many forums, and he is accepted very generously to join us. So see you all tomorrow. Thank you very much.